Garrick was a member of SEAL Teams 3 and 5, as well as the Naval Special Warfare Center, where he did a tour as a SEAL instructor. He taught firearms, tactics, and explosives on basic and advanced levels to other SEAL team members. During this time, he also became certified as a master training specialist. After completing his tour at NSWC, he returned to SEAL Team 3 and deployed to Iraq. In summary, he completed 6 overseas deployments to Southeast Asia and the Middle East. After leaving military service, he began contracting for the CIA, performing a position depicted in the movie 13 Hours in Benghazi. He did this work for 7 years, completing approximately 1,000 clandestine operations. In the process, he became relied upon as a tactical operations expert for the country of Afghanistan. In 2014, he was awarded the Agency SEAL Medal for his role during a hostile attack on CIA personnel. In 2020, he started a new company known as High Value Target LLC.
Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to Silencio Coffee. I've got my co-host here, Big Fred from Silencio Coffee. Fred, how are you?
I'm good, Mike. How you doing?
Good, brother. Well, listen, got a good friend of mine, Fern, Garrick Fernbaugh. So, Fern, I don't even know how we met. I don't even remember. I think it was you doing the Gale Comstock thing in Oregon, where that guy got injured, and I think you brought out the med kit.
I did an interview with Dale Comstock for sure.
Yeah.
I was on his podcast and a bunch of years ago, like maybe 2016 or something.
Yeah, it was 2016, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think we met just via like Facebook, Instagram, something like that. We started communicating and I don't know, here we are all these years later.
Yeah, been a long time. I think I've known Fred as long. I think 2017, probably at ADS in West Coast. Is that where we met, Fred, or?
Face to face, yeah, that was the first time. I think we were kind of corresponding before that, but yeah, in person, definitely.
Yeah, okay. Cool, man. Well, guys, I've got Garrick Fernbaugh. He has been around town. So, Garrick, why don't you, tell us what name you go by, what's your call sign, what did you do in the military? Let's get us started and what you're doing now. So, and we'll run through that, and we've got some questions. Basically, I want to talk about your career, talk about your time as a GRS member, and also your targets, which I think are very fascinating, and so does Fred. But let's go ahead and get started with you and your beginnings.
Okay. U.S. Navy, basically 88 to 2008. I did about 7 years in the Navy. Did, I think 3 platoons over at SEAL Team 3, like Southeast Asia. Did a couple forward deployments to the Philippines. One on the ship, Haze, Gray, and Underway, as we used to say back then. So that kind of sucked, but I got that out of the way, so to speak, like my first platoon. Was kind of burnt. I was kind of going back to back on deployments, and I just got married, had a new kid, my baby boy, and hastily decided to get out of the Navy while I was doing Bright Star in Egypt. I don't know, maybe you've done that, Fred, that exercise over there in Egypt, Bright Star. So the Somalia Black Hawk Down thing was all going down while we were there in Egypt. Just the pullout from that, which is a bit of a story in itself we could maybe get to later, but got out of the Navy for a year and some change, going to college, working part-time, wife and kid, decided it's going to take me about a decade to finish off this bachelor's degree at this rate. I'm just getting back in the Navy. So I did finish up the 20. I went back in to SEAL Team 5 that time, did another pump there. Just a non-war deployment, pre-9/11. We were forward deployed to Okinawa. There was nothing going on. We drank a lot, partied a lot. We did like 2 trips into Thailand from there, just partying and drinking, basically. Then 9/11 happened. When I left Team 5, I went over to Buds to do an instructor tour. I was working 3rd phase. Met a lot of guys. It was a really infamous time to be there, like, because I'd been there at Naval Special Warfare Center maybe a year when the war broke out. And then, dude, there's just so many like infamous guys, and unfortunately so many guys that were killed that I ended up meeting during that time frame I was there. I went back to SEAL Team 3 after that. Had a very disappointing deployment. Um, 4 deployed to Iraq. First, our primary mission while we were there was just like executive protection stuff for the top 5 Iraqi interim government. So we were protecting Alawi. We had this doctor that we were protecting. There's like 5 guys, and it was basically all of SEAL Team 3 and maybe a couple platoons from 5 that were kind of supplementing us. And I was only there 3 weeks when I injured myself in the gym, of all places. Thought it'd be a good time to do a 1 rep max on the bench press. That didn't work out. Didn't work out at all. But dude, I was like black and blue from, I mean, this tendon that attaches the whole pectoralis major, like
Nice.
tore off the bone. Like I heard it go. It was like, whole just, and anyway, I'm lucky I didn't get crushed under the weight, but I had a good spotter, and I'm black and blue from my shoulder to my hip. And this right arm is just useless, immobilized, medevaced out, non-combat injury. But through land stool and all that stuff, I had surgery and whatever. And then I'd racked up, by that point, 18 years of sea duty, as they call it in the Navy. I'd kind of, kept a pretty good op tempo for the most part. And the detailer was pissed. I'm like, look, man, I don't want to do another pump. I plan on getting out at 20. So I finagled these orders up to the reserve center in Portland, Oregon, where my ex-wife is still at. Not a good decision. Should have done another pump. Should have re-upped for the 150 bonus. Stayed in, got out at a higher rank than I retired out as, and all that kind of stuff worked out better. But, I never really scratched that itch. And working at the reserve center, reserve Navy is like 10 steps down from regular Navy. And I was already having a problem stomaching, like just the pace that things move in the regular Navy, so I'm losing my mind at that reserve center. I got to get back into the action somehow. So a buddy of mine who had previously been at Team 5 was now head of this GRS program over at the agency. And he gets me a spot, gets me a slot into that thing. I went through, at the time, they were graduating classes of nobody. Like the shooting standards were off the charts. Like, not what I was accustomed to. I think this day and age, honestly, lots of people are used to running on the timer and that added stress. But back in 2008, we weren't using the timer in the SEAL teams at all. That was a competition shooter thing. Maybe you guys were using it over where you were at, Fred, but that was a new type of pressure. And honestly, it was '08, the crash. My wife was a real estate agent. We were pretty close to missing payments on the house. Like, I needed this job. You're shooting for your job. So there's some added stress on top of everything.
Yeah.
But I made it through. I met some really great dudes while I was there. I loved contracting for those 7 years. It was a different type of risk. It's a little bit of the cat and mouse game, clandestine type stuff. We're in Herat. We're really up against the Iranians in Herat and Kabul. It's more of like ISI. Over in, say, like Asadabad, it's just a full-on terrorist element out there, like mostly AQ and in the Asadabad area while I was there. Jalalabad, who knows? Anything goes. Was kind of that. Fred, maybe you've been to all those same spots. I don't know.
Yeah, a couple of them. They're quite shitty. Yes.
Yeah, quite shitty. That's pretty much it, man. So, I started brainstorming an exit strategy while I was still working, which was Red Frog. Like, what do you know how to do? Firearms training was something I always enjoyed to a certain extent. So I'm like, all right, let's do that. I kicked that off. But that whole company was tied into another woman, let's say, that wasn't ideal for me. And that whole thing went south. I wasn't going to I didn't have the money to go to court and everything else at the time when this thing folded up. I was
Mhm.
personally at rock bottom. I mean, like, I'd been headed towards rock bottom probably for a few years. Just like when I started contracting, the alcohol intake just started ratcheting up.
Mhm.
And I'd say when I first started contracting, it would take me, you know, it would typically be like 60 40s, like maybe 60 over there, 40 over here. But it didn't always work like that, man. Sometimes it was maybe 90 there, 30 here. And you know, there's a certain amount of intensity level. Shit happens. Benghazi, for example, like all
Mhm.
my buddies, guys that I knew involved in that. Um, and I remember when I first started, I come back to Portland, Oregon, and a buddy of mine's like, "So does it take you a little while to decompress?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know, probably a week or so, just to kind of level out." And then maybe a year or so later, a different guy asked me the same question. I'm like, "Nah, I'm good, no issues," you know. But what I eventually realized is that I was slowly ratcheting up the alcohol intake and
Mhm.
the stress level, and I never decompressed anymore. I always just
Yep.
was on a slow incline of stress and everything else going on until I finally freaking imploded, is basically what happened.
Ra-
Divorce,
Race
parent
car.
alienation. What's that, Fred?
That quote from John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, running a race car in the red. I think it was Pulp Fiction. That's what it sounds like. You're in the red so much, man. Like, yeah, you know, the human body and brain can only tolerate, or not tolerate. They can only deal with so much stress. So you're
Yeah,
definitely, sounds like you're definitely in the red for sure.
I think so. I mean, things that I've learned since then, like it wouldn't repeat itself like it did then, just because I've done so much work on myself, a lot of meditation, many hours of meditation, but just understanding like depression, for me at least. I don't want to tell anybody where their depression's coming from, but I'm just replaying like woe is me stories in my head, basically, you know. It,
Yep.
in my opinion, depression ultimately is feeling sorry for yourself. And I realized that, at least it was for me. I was like, I'm done with this. I'm just done. I'm going to get better. You know what I mean? I'm done being depressed. So, but when I made that decision, it doesn't happen like overnight. Um, I went back, I'd taken a break. There's a bunch of events that led to me not immediately going back to work for the agency in 2015. And then in 2017, I went back and did the recertification stuff to go all through that again. Looks like I was probably going to deploy again overseas. Um, Long story short, it didn't happen. I won't go into all the details of that either right now, but there was still some depression and stuff going on as well. Then maybe you guys are familiar with
Mhm.
Marcus and Amber Capone, who
Yes.
are leading up.
Team six guy.
Yeah, Team Six guy. They started these psychedelic treatments for
Mm.
guys just like us.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine had just gone through it, highly recommended it. So I did. I filled out the application. I wasn't the big mess that I had been 2, 3 years earlier, but I guess I was like bad enough. They accepted me into the program, you know. So I head down to Mexico. I do the ibogaine and the toad, as they call it, and I
Yeah.
was good. Like it pretty much fixed me. Like no more episodes of depression, not on the couch for 2, 3 days laid out anymore. And maybe a few months later, I realized that it had what had really spawned what I guess I refer to it as now is this like spiritual awakening had coincided with the whole thing. But that's pretty much the gist. Fernbaugh. Even while I was running overseas, I was Fern. I
Yep.
think there's more people that know me as Fern now than Garrick.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I've been
pretty
calling you
much
Garrick for
where it
years,
went.
and then, Yeah, and then I know you go by Fern, but I've been just calling you Garrick forever.
Either
But
one.
yeah. So let's talk about Benghazi. I had Chris Peranto on. I mean, and I know that Roan, right? So can you talk about that at all? I mean, you were doing the GRS work, and how did you hear about it when it kicked off?
Yeah.
13 hours.
I happened to be in Kabul,
Mm-hmm.
and I was manning the QRF that particular day. So we've got like a big QRF armored vehicle and everything else. There's one like SATCOM channel that we shared for the region. I don't know if I should say the name of it, but it's a shared SATCOM. So I'm just doing radio checks and stuff on the vehicles that morning, and I hear our guys in Benghazi like coming up on the SATNet. So we kind of put the word out amongst us, like, hey, there's something going on in Benghazi. Like they're in troops in contact. There's a tick in Benghazi. Our guys are in the fight there. So stay off the SATCOM so that channel stays open. All that kind of stuff. I remember that was pretty much the first thing I heard that morning going into the team room was, hey, the guys in Benghazi are in this firefight. And then in lunch, I get word again, like, hey, the firefight's still going on. Dinner comes around, hey, the firefight's still going on. And you're just thinking like, man, I really wish I could get over there to help my boys out. But you're here, you kind of stuck literally in a different country. At a certain point, I don't know, probably not classified, but I bump into a case officer just walking through the compound that day. And he's like, everybody's upstairs watching it live because they got some pred overhead or something monitoring the thing. I was like, can I come watch this? He's like, no, dude. You know what I mean? He's like, this is like everybody's back 7th floor back in DC watching this thing live. Like it's just kind of head shed type folks that are tuned into this. But what it told me in hindsight was that the head shed, so to speak, probably had better situational awareness of what was going on the ground than the dudes on the ground. And they weren't communicating. They weren't relaying any of that. So that was pretty frustrating. It's probably a day or two later that I learned one of my best friends from the SEAL teams had been killed during that whole thing. Ty Woods. I'd met Glenn. Glenn Doherty had also done a pump to Kabul. And I got to know him. There's a little bit of overlap with him at SEAL Team 5. But I really knew Ty well. I mean, 13 hours, and I coincidentally had done 13 years of my career with Ty. He was at SEAL Team 3 when I checked in. He went over to SEAL Team 5, and we were BUDS instructors at the same time. And his death was one of the closer guys, That one hit home for sure. Oh, this was interesting. Maybe I'll throw this out. So maybe a couple days later, I bump into that same case officer who had been watching everything live upstairs. And I'm like, hey, man, did you happen to see like Ty? Like, and kind of what was going on with all that, He's like, yeah, he's like, I saw him proned out on the roof behind a Mark 48 machine gun.
Yeah.
Belt-fed machine gun, 7.62. It's the lightened up for those folks who don't know. It's like an M240, but it's been lightened up, shortened up for special operations, the Mark 48. And I'm like, how many guys you think Ty took down? He's like, dude, he was getting some 40, 50 guys easily.
Yeah.
They're just being overrun, basically.
Yep.
Nobody back home was helping them, which is just criminal in my mind. Criminal. As I look back on it now, I think that whole thing was orchestrated by Clinton to fall. That Ambassador Stevens, she intended for him to die there, and some other people went down with him.
Yeah, a lot of people think that, man. I mean, how do you feel about, as it is right now, the state of the world? I mean, for a while, I will say, I thought it was going to be pretty dark with Kamala or Biden in office. And it was kind of grim, right?
It was very grim.
Yeah, it was grim for a while. And you were on your channel on Instagram doing your thing, and I've said it before, dude, you've got A personality, B, You're outspoken. See, you know what you want to talk about. You should do a podcast. I'm still going to push you into that. So maybe you'll do it down the road. But I mean, what's your take on this, post GWOT, man? I mean, how do you feel? A lot of people now are saying that there's no accountability. And then also,
yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah, no accountability. And then just a loss of life, man. So many people were lied to. And I don't want to get to the 9/11 thing. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But really, I mean, what's your take on it emotionally? The toll on you. How do you feel about post GWOT and where you're at right now? You feel like you're in a much better place, I assume. I mean, you moved out of Oregon too.
I'm in a much better place. Moving out of Oregon was awesome for mental health.
Yeah.
I mean, literally just watching the city be destroyed every day. There was riots declared every day for more than 3 months.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, I saw the Oregon from Oregon, and then now you're in Oklahoma. I was like, wow, that's a massive cultural shift. I have questions about that, but I'll let you continue. I don't mean to interrupt.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, quickly, I grew up here in Oklahoma, and I'll just skip over to this. So at the time, like, I was pretty upset about everything that was going on in Portland.
Yeah.
And I had a bunch of trips. I just started High Value Target, making targets using 3D animation software. I had some trips lined up to visit buddies who had training facilities around the country, and COVID hits. And even the shooting ranges got shut down. So I'm like, well, what do I do? This other former team guy, buddy of mine, has a security company, a license, everything else, so we can get some strategies going to assist law enforcement in the Portland area. That was my intention, is to just assist law enforcement in any way, shape, or form that we can.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm brainstorming different things, like what realistically can you do? You can't just watch it on the news. You got to get down there and mix it up with them, so to speak. I'm all dressed up like one of the Antifa guys, all blacked out, and I got 2-3 buddies with me. So, I mean, even though we thought we were blending in, dude, they knew who we were 5 minutes after we showed up there. And they would literally assign somebody to follow us. And I mean, it's very organized. About every 15 minutes, they'd rotate out. I don't think they knew that we knew who the dude was that was following us and keeping tabs on us. But I mean, I've got some training in this type of thing, right? So Antifa, long story short, I ended up getting doxxed by these guys.
Yeah.
That was an absolute nightmare. When you're trending on Twitter, I think it was like 4 million views or something.
Oh yeah, you're everywhere. You're on Coffee or Die, your New York Times. You're in all the major papers talking about Navy SEAL, alt-right, Nazi. I mean, just crazy.
Dude, they're calling me a Nazi.
Yeah.
That was just like infuriating. Like, to this day, any one of those little Antifa fucks, if I get my hands on him, I'll rip his throat right out of his fucking head.
Yeah.
Calling me, all the buddies that I've lost, all the years I've spent in the war zone, for these little fucking insurrectionists to call me a traitor, I will fuck them up.
Yeah. Well,
straight up. I'll rip your fucking head off.
But the claim was that you were throwing pipe bombs. And then there was flashbangs,
just bald-faced lies.
So then you got investigated. Yeah, of course.
But I didn't get investigated. Even that was a lie. There was nothing but lies surrounding the whole thing. I did call an attorney.
Yeah.
And what is it? What is that? Task conditions standard type of thing. There's the website though. That's task and purpose. It's like a military related website. Can't remember this guy's name, but another Antifa guy, literally working for Task and Purpose. What a shit freaking magazine that is.
Wow.
So this guy slanders me on Task and Purpose and writes a bunch of lies about me there that he would never retract. Like, I reached out to him a few times in years following that, no retractions, nothing. But the left lies. That's what they do.
Of course. Yeah.
You know,
But you were able to move out of Portland to Oklahoma, and how are you doing there right now?
great.
Yeah.
Things are great.
You got family there?
Yeah, I've got family in the area in Oklahoma and in Texas, so that's good. Friends that I grew up with that have
Yeah.
been a big part of the support network and everything else.
Now, do you do any of the reunions at all? Do you get together with any of your SEAL buddies?
I
I mean, some
haven't.
people go to, no, not at all.
Just
Even
on
some
a
of the trade
like
shows, like,
one-on-one basis.
okay. So
There's
nothing
a
like,
number of dudes.
yeah, nothing like the 80 shows, nothing like
Nah,
Vegas, nothing at all. No interest.
nah, nothing quite like that.
Yeah, cool. Fred, questions at all, man? You got?
Man, we're all over the place
We
there.
are. We are. I wanted to go into career and where he's
No,
at, but there's
I
just
like
he's done so much. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just flowing with it.
yeah.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. I do have a couple questions. I was jotting down some notes as you made some commentary about stuff. So you said it's funny because I've never heard anybody who admittedly suffers with depression say or admit that it's you think it's because like feeling self-pity, feeling sorry for
It
yourself.
is. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that because I think I mentioned that on a previous episode where there's a lot of doctors and PhDs that kind of do research on this topic, and there's definitely some papers out there about how if you're not occupying your mind, if you don't have like a hobby or a fulfilling job or something to occupy your thoughts and ideas, that you think about yourself, and you do focus on, like you said, woe is me, focus on issues, because we all fall into that trap, right? I know I do it. Like, woe is me.
Yeah.
I have it so hard. Nothing's ever easy for me. My sink's leaking, or this is that. A car needs a thing, and we get so engrossed in our own problems that we think it's kind of
Yeah.
we get sense about
Society just contributes to it, in my
it.
opinion. And thank
Yep.
you for your service.
Yep.
I never really like to hear that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think there's all this pity just waiting for you. And it's a trap, basically.
I totally agree with that. Like, I have a lot of friends with that suffer with PTS or depression or both, and you're the first person I ever heard say that. So thank you for being courageous enough to say that, because I agree. I think if you're focused on yourself, you're going to kind of dwell on that, but you need to
For
kind of
sure.
look around and find things, and get hobbies or activities, exercise, whatever,
Yeah.
keep yourself occupied, because I've seen a lot of like personal friends go down really bad holes because of that. And when you throw in meds and alcohol on top of it, it just multiplies, right? But
Yeah.
no, that was a great
Absolutely.
point. That was a great
Thank you,
point.
Fred.
Thanks for bringing that up. So I like to talk when we have a guest, especially somebody like yourself with a lot of interesting background, like the origin story, and ask them why they made a choice or decided to go into a certain thing. So why Navy SEALs? And that's not, I'm not
Uh,
trying to ask. I just want to know.
it
A lot of
like
our
back
viewers,
in the 80s, there was a couple magazines, one Soldier of Fortune and the
yep,
other was called Gung Ho magazine.
yep, I remember.
And I was all into these, like seventh, eighth grade, BB gun wars, all this kind of stuff. And they had done an article on the Navy SEALs, and I just got it in my head when I was about 13, 14 that I was going to be a Navy SEAL. Coinciding with all of this is my dad. He's like, hey, when you turn 18, I hope you got a plan because you aren't staying here. So I'm like, oh, this is the plan. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? He gave me years of heads up to
yeah,
formulate the plan, basically. And that was the plan. I was a bit of a, like, you might say, like Red Dawn kid.
yeah.
Oh, the Russians are going to invade. We had Vietnam. There's likely to be another big war coming. And I had this, actually, there's a kind of a wild story that goes along with this, but it was like, I wasn't going to be part of the cannon fodder in the regular ranks. I
Mhm.
knew special operations was the place to be. Like, and I would say, like, all the First Blood movies. Like
Yep.
Stallone heavily impacted me as a young man. And my mindset was basically to win in war, just become war.
Mhm.
Like, just embrace it. Like, be it.
Man, there's so much similarities between us because I was the same way, right? Same movies, John Wayne, Green Berets, Rambo. Another
Mm.
big one for me, oddly enough, was Navy SEALs, right? With Charlie Sheen and
Ah,
those guys. Like, I love that movie. I guess the big reason I didn't go in the Navy and try to be a SEAL. Well, I always wanted to be a Green Beret before that, but
cool.
what turned me off of the Navy was cold water. I'm a pussy in cold water. Like, when the cold plunge started to be a
Yeah,
thing,
me too.
when the cold plunge started to be a thing, and I had to do that for rehab. I was at a rehab place after an injury. I had to do it. I'm like, "What's this?" They're like, "Oh, that's a 48-degree pool." I'm like, "48 degrees? Are you kidding me?" I jumped in. I screamed like a little girl. Like, the first couple times I did it, I'm like, "Yeah, cold water is not my thing." But funny, interesting, very similar to, like, I guess most of us, right? Similar, reasons why we do what we do.
Dude, I literally had like cold water PTSD, as funny as that sounds. It might be 90 degrees on the beach in San Diego, and my wife would be like, "Hey, get out there in the water and go play with the kids." I'm like, "What, are you kidding me? That water's
Right.
cold. I'm not going out there." The
But
kids are nuts. Let them play. I don't know. You know?
all right, and I'm gonna ask this question because there's this. I have fun, especially where I work. I work at JSOC, so I work with different branches, Navy guys, as well as other services. And there's always that
Yeah.
inter-service rivalry, and you see memes about some of the stuff. So if you're getting ready to go into a building, get ready to clear, and you're getting ready to go in that threshold, are you high port or are you low ready, like depressed muzzle?
Oh, high port or retracted.
Okay,
So
that's what I thought you were.
I'll sometimes come back to this retracted before I punch into a room.
Yep.
I stopped using the low port thing. Sometimes now though, it's sort of like the buttstocks over the shoulder. I'll do some of that, like maybe a high low port
Yep.
type of thing, but not the traditional low port. I'm not using that one anymore.
Okay. I just that it was kind of a joke, but not really. Like, it's just funny because some people
Yeah.
are very emotional about that stuff, and I find it very entertaining. Um, people.
It's a hot topic. I
It is.
don't understand why that particular thing became such a heated point of contention between so many of us.
Right.
I just look at it as like snapping sight pictures. What's the fastest way I can snap out a sight picture after I round out this corner? Something like that.
Yep. Um. So Mike, I don't know if you want to kind of jump in here
Yeah,
because
let's talk about some real world incidents, man. Let's talk about. I know you got a couple, and I don't know if Fred heard the one with the freaking long magazine, but that one cracks me up with Justin. But you had a couple of things that kicked off. Can you share some of that stuff?
Yeah, sure. So a God thing, I'd say. Um, there's a couple God things. Let me hit on this one really quick first. A good buddy of mine, former special forces guy, first name Ray. I'll just throw that out in case Ray happens to catch this. But I was one of the better shooters in GRS. Of my graduating class, you might say, I was the number one shooter amongst those dudes. Ray would outshoot me all day long. Like later when I quit contracting, Ray would help me run a few classes here and there. He was living in Colorado at the time. I'd be like, "Ray, man, you ready to go? You all freaking, spun up?" He's like, kinda. I only shot 10,000 rounds, pistol and rifle this month. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So when this attack goes down in 2014, it was like 6:30 in Kabul at headquarters, I guess I wanted to talk about this one first because I think it's more remarkable than my own thing, which
Yeah.
I'll get back around to. But there's 4 Haqqani network. Actually, there was a total of 8 of these Haqqani network terrorists that we learned later were the training instructors for the Haqqani network. Like these were their top dudes. They'd done a dry run on the headquarters there, the CIA headquarters in Kabul, a month earlier, 28 days earlier. They had 2 cars that got all the way into our inner compound. I don't know what their business was there, how long they were there. I just know that they had gained access and then left. So they had basically tested their fake IDs. They all had fake military ID cards, which were very legit. And all of the names on the ID cards were from the movie Salt, like with Angelina Jolie,
Yeah.
which was a movie about how the CIA had been infiltrated, essentially,
Yeah.
traitors within, which is, I'm sure, I mean, it was just a little message, is really what it was. So 28 days later, these 2 cars come back to carry out the attack. And 28 days earlier, our local guard force guys, comprised of all Afghans and whatnot, had known there was something up with these guys. And for whatever reason, they only got one of the 2 cars on the list to like be on the lookout, like deny entry, that type of stuff. Probably because we had a spy within, and so only one of the 2 cars got on the list. One of the cars, the car on the list, got hemmed up at what we would call like the green zone, coming in pretty close to the palace and whatnot there at Kabul. The other car made it into our inner compound, and they were sitting there for vehicle checks. They got their vehicle checked. Local guard force checked them out, but they were like, "Hey, there's something up with these guys," and they had them delayed on the radio, getting comms, getting permission from higher up to allow these guys into the compound. I guess they thought the delay was too long. Oh, actually, now I remember. In fact, I think Josie was there for this. The other guy you had mentioned. The static guard force guys also knew there was something going on. It was this particular Alpha Gate, which was right by one of our guard towers. And Josie was telling me, he's like, dude, I had like just charged the 240 because he's like, my spidey senses are tingling. There's something going on. This car's been hemmed up there for a while. And the driver steps out. He's wearing a suicide bomber vest and he's got an AK. And he's going to take out the guards at that guard post. My buddy from the elevated position in the guard tower is like, just freaking lights him up. And sympathetic detonation, the freaking vest goes off.
Yeah.
I think the whole car went high order, if I remember right. And the dude sitting in the car in the inner compound, of course, they heard the explosion. They're like, jig is up. In a well-rehearsed move, all 4 doors open up. They step out simultaneously. They killed 7 guards in less than 2 seconds. Like, we got it on video. If you think about it, there's one dude that didn't even have 2 shots. It's just step out, boom, boom. 4 guys, 7 guards, done in literally 2 seconds. But now they're trying to run around and find a way into the inner compound. There's the 20-foot high cement T-walls and everything else with concertina wire on the top. There was a pedestrian gate that they planned on breaching that we had just reinforced the week earlier. God thanks. God. It still had primer on it. Like we hadn't even properly painted the reinforced pedestrian gate. So one of these guys runs up to it. Fred, you and I would just throw like a breaching charge on the gate, but not these guys. They blow themselves up. They are the breaching charge, right? So, and maybe if this dude had like hugged the gate and tamped himself up against it, it might have worked. Who knows? But he's like arms reach away, clacks himself off. This buddy of mine is living in pods, like right on the other side of the wall. Here's the gunfire and everything. He's like, Fern, I step outside and it's raining body parts. It's like heads and hands and stuff coming down all around him. You know what I mean? And the gate held. So he blew himself up for nothing. There's 3 dudes left. When Ray and another former SEAL team guy, Pirate was his call sign, they are the first 2 guys to just get kitted up. This thing's going down at like 6:30 a.m. So those 2 dudes punch out into that outer compound, and Ray is like, what is this dude in army fatigues doing standing here? Like the Connie Network guys were dressed up in U.S. Army uniforms. They had the ID cards, the high and tight, the whole bit. But Ray isn't buying it. Ray said he snaps a sight picture on this dude's head, and he said he's kind of canted, about 25 yards, he said. He's like, this dude came up so fast he couldn't even react. He put 2 armor-piercing rounds onto his plates, but he had level 4 plates. Again, you know what I mean? He brought his own plates. They didn't issue us level 4 at the time, so those saved him.
Wow.
A bullet also snapped by his head from the palace. Somebody was shooting at him from the palace, a sniper that missed. But Ray absorbs those 2 rounds, presses trigger, and pierces the cerebellum of the brain. He's like, his body fell so fast that all the subsequent rounds that he fired, he said he fired like 3-4 more times, but all those rounds went right over the top of the body because it just immediately dropped.
Yep.
Then Ray and Pirate kind of retreated back in because they're taking rounds from the palace. Eventually, we end up killing the other 2 guys that were out there in the compound. So that was that. About a year after that thing, I'm coming back off of a move one night. You know, like clandestine pickup is what we referred to it as, picking up our asset. It's late September. It's about 8:30 at night. It's dark, you know, because we're already into the fall season. And I've got maybe a couple hours or so to kill, so to speak, while I'm waiting for this meeting to finish up with the case officer and her asset. And as I'm bebopping back to my living quarters, I'm pretty good at detecting like what the weapon is, the number of rounds. I think it comes from the 80s movies, Fred. Like when everyone was running around with a 6-shot revolver and and they keep shooting, and I'm always counting rounds. I'm like, oh, that guy needs to reload. You know, that type of thing. So I just kind of got accustomed to like the number of rounds, and so I'm like 10 rounds, AK-47. It's reverberating all through different buildings and stuff. I don't have a direct line of sight to where the gunfire was coming from, but initially I'm kind of picturing one of our guards standing up in the guard tower, kind of like addressing a threat down in the street. But as I'm thinking about the way that everything reverberated, I'm like, nah. I'm like, that gunfire was directed into the compound, not out of the compound. So why would our guards, because our guards are the only ones carrying AK-47s, we're all carrying, you know, like the HK 416s. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to get fired for running through the compound with my gun out, but I think I can articulate why I'm doing this.
Right.
So draw a pistol. I'm dressed like this, like blue jeans, t-shirt. I got the radio clipped in my back pocket, and all my gear is in the car. Body armor, long gun, all my regular gear, extra mags for the pistol were on the plate carrier. So this bit me in the ass because I was always like, when would I ever need more than 18 rounds in the compound? You know, well, that was answered that night. So as I take off on kind of a slow jog, a slow run towards the gunfire, cognizant, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this could go real bad. Like, I got nothing on me right now. So let's just kind of go see what this is, investigate it. I approached the T-walls close to that guard tower, popped out, and I'm pointed up at this guard tower where I saw nobody. There was enough light that I should be able to see the silhouette of a person standing in that guard tower, and I don't see anybody, which confirmed to me in the moment, all right, there's something something up. There should be a guard in the guard tower, and there's not. So I'm really focused high on that guard tower, but there was a bunker just low and left. And the shooter was in that bunker, actually. So a few seconds later, another 10-round burst of fire goes into the dining facility. I kind of looked over to see this great big Freon tank took a couple rounds at least, and that thing burst and more or less exploded. It was just surreal. It was this moment of like, holy fuck, like it's on. You know what I mean? It was really just a surreal moment. The lights, it was this big cloud of Freon going up. And as we often say on the range, you're truly products of our training, right? In my head, I hear the range is hot. I'm like, of course it is. The range is hot. So light this dude up. My initial thought was to just give him a good volley of fire and push him back into the bunker, get him to stop shooting. In hindsight, if I'd just taken the time to really take one well-aimed shot, I probably could have ended the whole thing right then. I had a laser on the pistol, which was crucial. Just this cheap Crimson Trace laser that I would take with me overseas. But that particular night, I wouldn't have had a sight picture at all. It was so dark over at that bunker. In fact, the only reason I could even see him to shoot at him was the muzzle flashes were like illuminating him so I could shoot at him, you know?
Yep.
So, but I emptied most of that mag, and then I didn't want to go completely dry. So I kind of retreat back into this living quarters area. I'm like, there's going to be people coming out of the woodwork, right? What's going on? And there's a couple other GRS guys that came out. What's going on? While I'm apprising them of the situation, there's still gunfire. He went through 2 more mags in about the next 30, 40 seconds or so while I'm explaining this. Kills 1 guy, injures 3 more people, shooting into the dining facility. In fact, Josie, our guard force guy, drives right by the bunker in one of the ATVs. And he hears the ATV go by the bunker. So he steps out, gives him a little love. We figured he'd probably let 20 rounds fly at him. And once again, how he didn't get hit. Josie's like bullets are just, snapping all around him. Right about that time, I'm like locked and loaded with a fresh mag. And I come running back up to the scene, pan out, and I don't see anything. Nothing. It's just dark. And then I see this dark silhouette kind of walking back towards me. And it's not 100% ID to be completely honest. I'm like hesitating on this guy. I see him walking back towards, like, intending to go into the bunker. I'm like, I can't let him get back into the bunker. I'm like, it has to be that dude. Anybody else standing there right now would be dead. So I took a deep breath. I'm like, all right, make this one count. You know what I mean? Just trying to put some good rounds down range at about 25 yards at night with the laser. Turns out I got 3 good impacts, like just over the top of his Rhodesian. Got 3 good hits, center mass on him. 1 in the thigh. Maybe that one hit earlier, probably. But anyway, he ran back into the bunker, and honestly, there was no indication I'd even hit him. 124 grain hydroshock 9 mil did not have much an effect on that dude. Not immediately anyway. And in that moment, I don't know, I guess I felt like the lion on the African plains or some shit, because I'm like, oh, you want to run from me? And I broke cover where I was at and just started walking on the bunker. Like the Groucho Marx walk there, Fred. You know what I mean? Heel to toe, just walking on the bunker. putting rounds into it. I took an angle on that thing. I was like, I'm going to turn the inside of that bunker into a pinball machine. So I'm like, high, ricocheting rounds in that bunker. And then I'm like, oh, I bet he's ducking down right now. So I started shooting rounds low, ricocheting rounds into that bunker, you know, off one wall. I knew the rounds would just be bouncing around in there, right?
Yeah.
Got about 10 feet from that bunker or so, and then just held off. Broke off at a 45-degree angle, and a few seconds later, one of our just civilian contractor guys, he does like handyman type stuff. They do electrical, plumbing, air conditioning, whatever needs to be done. One of these guys walks out and is about to enter the bunker. So I push him off, tell him to go seek cover. Another dude comes walking out, and he's about to walk into the bunker. I didn't know it, but he'd already been in the bunker like about 5 minutes earlier and just about got whacked. He was right behind one of our other civilian contractors, like plumbing, electrical, whatever, handyman type guy. He got killed entering the bunker, going in to seek cover. Basically, what he'd done is he created this code red, knowing that everybody would run to the bunker for cover. And then he's standing right there in the bunker ready to kill them when they come running in. That's basically what's going on. So as I'm positioned there, I can keep people from entering the bunker. This guy that comes out was on a different program, not the GRS program, that I didn't know him to be part of our security forces at all. But he's carrying a gun, and I tell him to get lost, basically, seek cover, and he doesn't. Like, he just ignores me, kind of walks around me. There's two entrances to the bunker, and he takes up a position holding on the other entrance to the bunker. I'm thinking this is like dodgeball when you're a kid growing up. Like, I would never pick this guy to be on my dodgeball team. But right now, dude, you're it. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm actually relieved that I've at least got some help, because I'm not doing this anymore back and forth between two entrances. I can just hold on one, and out of my peripheral vision, I see him walking into the bunker. Like, I don't catch him until like there's 1 foot extended stepping in. I look over to be like, stop. Too late. Steps right into the bunker. I hear this brap out of the AK, and he jumps back out. He's flying like this, firing, shooting with one hand. He gets 2 shots off, and then he just falls limp in the street.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, he's done. He just got smoked. So I'm like, okay, 2 entrances. Back to 2 entrances now. And this is where I'm at. Adrenaline level is slightly, increasing. And all of a sudden, this guy stands up and dusts himself off. And I'm like, this is like a scene out of Pulp Fiction. Crazy stuff is just popping into my head in the moment. That scene from Pulp Fiction when the kid comes out of the bathroom with the like hand cannon, and what is it, Jules and the other guy, they're looking at each other and there's all these holes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, how did that guy not get hit? A full auto, 10 rounds out of the AK in the bunker. How did he not get hit?
Wow.
Whatever. So, but he dusts himself off and then just casually walks off. It actually walked behind me and took a seat on the curb and was just kind of sitting there on the curb like this. He's like kind of shaking his head. I'm like, this dude is condition black, as we say.
Yeah.
He's completely freaking out of it.
Combat ineffective.
I think that's when I finally got on the radio, which I should have done way earlier to communicate everything that's going on, because there was some confusion about where it was all happening. And then within pretty short order, the cavalry arrived. All the boys, which I was way too happy to see, come running up with the kitted up, you know what I mean? Body armor, helmet, everything else. I'm like, great. So I just kind of took a step back, but those dudes were kind of over on this other side of the bunker, and I'm on like this side of the bunker at a 45. And they're like, Fern, man, do you have a flashbang? I'm like, no, I'll get one. So go to head into the team room to pick up some flashbangs or whatever I might find to help us. And I saw a one of our 40 millimeter grenade launchers.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, I got something for that guy. Stick one in the tube and slap that shut. You know what I mean? We didn't end up using that thing for whatever reason. I gave it over to our TL that was running the thing. Honestly, I didn't want to be the one shooting 40 Mike in the compound. So I
I mean,
just gave it. Like Fred, maybe you can relate to this. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a different ball of wax when you're running with the agency. I mean, if it's our
right.
own fob,
Yep.
we make our own rules, but it's not that
You,
there.
you guys carry, did you have any frags or no?
Limited. The
Um,
only frags that I had were not officially given to me. They were given to me by some active duty SF guys
okay.
who'd kind of pawned them over because the agency didn't really want us running with frags for whatever reason. So we didn't use those that night either. Um, but I end up with a flashbang and they're like, bang it, Fern. So I come running up to the edge of the bunker ready to bang this thing, but I don't really want to holster up like 2 feet from the bunker entrance. And I'm like, how am I going to pull the pin on this thing? John Wayne it with my teeth. You know what I mean? Something like this. So I'm like, okay, wait, I got an idea. So I just run around behind the bunker, jumped up on the bunker, pulling myself over the sandbags on the top. And, you know, there's kind of like a gap on the top of the bunker. I'm like, this is awesome. I'll be able to totally deploy this flashbang without really risking my own personal safety. Because the entrance to the bunkers are kind of weird. You know, there's like a big L shape. You kind of got to step into the bunker to even deploy the flashbang, which I was trying to avoid doing. So pulling myself across the sandbags, I heaved that flashbang down in there. Good deployment, good boom. Expecting there to be shots fired within a second. Nothing. Crickets. But normally in our shooter train, it's like, you know what I mean? You give like the single signal, you know what I mean? Like something. And everybody in the shooter train knows you're about to deploy that flashbang, and everybody's standing by, ready to make entry. But due to the delay of me jumping up and pulling myself across, there's this big delay. Nobody was ready, and nobody made entry after I deployed that flashbang. And then I'm like, oh, this is a big blue on blue. I'm in a really bad spot right now. If
Yep.
somebody from a distance sees me crawling around on top of this bunker, this could go south for me real fast. So I'm like, all right, get the hell out of here. I do. I get back around, just kind of form up and let my team get eyes on me so we don't have a blue on blue potentially. Those guys get their shit together basically, throw a flashbang in, and there's probably about a 2 or 3 second delay. The bang, and then the first shots that I heard were out of an AK, followed up by one of our 416s, you know. And then I heard one of our dudes scream out. So what ended up happening is, because it was so dark and the bunker was dark, we couldn't see that there was a dead body laying in the entrance. So when this entry team went to make entry, number one man was literally tripped over the dead body, and then he's, you know, pumping his feet, stutter stepping, and stays up by it, but he trips right into the middle of the bunker where he gets shot.
Yep.
So that number one man took a round, got shot in the hip and the thigh. He goes down. Number two man grabs him, drags him out, and dude, superhuman strength with all the adrenaline and stuff going on. I mean, this guy Yardbird that went down, weighed like 220. He picked up Yardbird and just chucked him. Like, I think Yardbird skipped off the ground a couple times. He threw him towards the rest of the shooter train so they could do first aid on him, you know, like start taking care of him. And I think Yardbird might have skipped off the ground. He threw him towards the shooter train. Then Sunshine was this guy's call sign. Next, I see Sunshine doing this dance, like he's getting himself psyched up. And now the rest of the team is totally focused on rendering medical aid to our number one man who got shot. There was some retarded shit going on. I'm like, eliminate the threat. You know what I mean? From where I'm at a distance, you still have an active threat in the bunker. Sunshine was really the only one tracking on that. And he told me later he saw how the Delta guys would deploy those 9-bangers and just follow them in.
Yep.
So he had a 9-banger, throws it in, and just follows it in. So that thing's cooking off, bouncing around inside the bunker, and Sunshine just lit him up nicely. He eliminated the threat, not me. That's basically how that thing went down. Then there was the medevac and all this other stuff that followed. This was kind of funny. I'll just throw this. Yeah, I should probably skip that part. Anyway.
Yeah, but you ended up getting a SEAL agency SEAL medal for that one, so that was quite
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. I got the agency SEAL medal for that. Actually, I got it on my desk. Show you guys what that looks like here. That's the agency SEAL medal.
Nice.
Very cool.
Now, I think one of the funny things I heard from Justin was you were walking around with a 30-round mag in your back pocket everywhere.
So
you're not unprepared for your
I
block.
didn't really change up my kit. Like I kept my spare mags on my body armor plate carrier still, but I started carrying around just a 30-round mag like in my back pocket. So that would be my next mag. Yeah, anyway. I kind of got known for that.
Yeah, that's
I mean, not to kill the humor, but that's actually a real technique. Like in the low vis capacity, a lot of teams will carry 30 rounders somewhere on their body, at least 2 for shit just like that. Just like you're talking about, like a prolonged firefight or a gunfight, and you only have pistols. That's a legitimate thing. I know you're kind of joking about it because it does look ridiculous, right? 30-round magazine.
It looks a little ridiculous, but yeah, appreciate that, Fred.
So, Fred, did you want to move on to targets, man?
Yeah, man. I that's a great story. I was like, I was eating up. My only one debrief point is, man, you should have went and got that instead of that banger. You should have got that frag and maneuvered on that guy and dropped that frag in that hole, man. That would have shortened that battle a little bit. But
yeah, it sure would have.
Hindsight, right?
Whatever. In hindsight,
I know you said you probably couldn't use.
Dude, there were so many lessons learned out of that thing. Yeah. So many things I could have done better. The team could have done better, but you know,
shit goes sideways, man. You have to react. You can't really think about it, right? So
yeah.
So the high value targets, man. So Mike sent me. He probably had you send them to me a while. Probably this was a couple of years ago, and I was like, man, I was so impressed by the realism and what I love most about your targetry. Some of them is the angles, the various angles, like sideways, bladed front, bladed rear. Like that is so cool. Nobody's doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and like when we teach shooting, whether it's like CQB stuff or even like long range, like angle of incident is a big subject, especially for rifle courses, like longer range stuff where people are standing at different different positions or whatever. So I'm going to pull this up and kind of talk about it. Let me see. Hold on. There we go. That's up there. You guys can see that, right?
Yeah.
On the view. Okay, cool. So kind of made us smaller, but is that view okay for you, Mike? With the three of us up to the side? Okay. So so I'm looking at the high value target website I selected the all target tab. So you have an interesting selection here. You've got some, looks like this one quad, you get some numbered IPSCs, I guess, to shoot like different sequence drills and stuff like that. And I also saw that you have different drills and some associated with these targets when you open these things up. Let me open this one up and kind of show everybody, which is very cool, right? You got different different kind of runs here or strings.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thanks, man.
yeah, man, this is very
If
cool.
you're so, I don't know, Fred, if you're like me, when I would often go to the range on my own time, not during structured training, but
Yep.
my own training, I would stand there for a bit thinking like, what do I want to do today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe read through some drills that I've already got established, and I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I don't really want to do that, but I'll do this. And so I started making some targets with the shooting drills printed on there. You
Mhm.
can follow what's printed on there, or you can just do your own thing. But I feel like it's kind of a memory jogger, kind of gets you going, breaks the ice, so to speak.
Yeah.
Those
So
dot.
go
Did you
ahead.
run the dot torture stuff? Either of you guys,
I
Mike?
have, yeah.
You ran that dot torture stuff.
Yep.
The agency at the time loved dot torture, but they would print it out on like an 8.5 by 11-inch piece of paper. You shoot dots, you know what I mean? That are, I mean, we end up shooting from like 3-4 feet away a lot of times.
Yep.
So yeah, I just thought I'd make those dots a realistic size so we can shoot them from a bigger distance, and then practice the hostage scenario thing. For years and years, I still do this, not every time, but I'll shoot a hostage scenario target first before I've warmed up when I go to the range. So if I have to make that shot for real, I have the confidence to do it.
So let's talk about that. Let's see. Let me open one up here. So we have, this is a HR, right? A hostage rescue target.
Yeah.
This one's a pretty generous one, I'd say. It's not a super low percentage, which is cool, right? So you get a lot of head here. You got your little vital zone kind of
Absolutely.
low profile outlined. And then you have a little bit of the we'll call it the upper A zone kind of exposed here, which is a little close to the hostage's shoulder. But yeah, man, I love these angles and these different points of view. Very cool. You know, the training value you get out of something like that. This is an interesting one. I was looking at this one earlier. This is a Quds Force special ops guy, right? Who was, what'd you say, was taking picture with Qasem Soleimani, who we killed in a drone strike, which is cool.
Absolutely, man.
I think it was this one here. Yeah, there's the picture. So that's very cool, man. I like the.
We think there was
and the real.
Oh, this was early on. I would say this is probably 2007.
Yeah.
Mark Metherall was working for the agency with Ground Branch in Iraq, and was killed by one of those Iranian explosively formed projectiles, EMPs.
Yep.
You know, that were real prevalent at the time. And as I'm sure you know, the Quds Force guys were secretly fighting us the entire time. I have no doubt they killed a lot of Americans. And I think it's pretty cool to be training on a target to kill them.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, here's kind of an example of the one I mentioned, the different angles, because this is not something most courses or instructors will talk about, is like, where's my vital areas? How do I shoot a guy if I'm facing him from the side or from the back, right? Like,
yeah.
Oh, this is a question I had for you. Oh, were you going to say something? No, because my question I had written down here was, do you have no threat options available? So interchangeable hands, which it looks like, you know, this guy's holding the blade, but then when you click it, he's holding a cucumber.
Interchangeable hands is something that I had not thought of. But yeah, some of the targets, not all of them yet, have overlays that you can print out on a standard size piece of paper and then just tape that piece of paper up, and you've got your overlay. So for those targets that have overlays, after you purchase the targets, you'll receive a notification for a digital download, which would include the overlay. And it might also include training. With some of the targets, I'll have training tips.
Yep, I saw that. This is so cool. Now this is a low P, this is an LP, a low percentage, absolutely right here. All you really have for vital areas. I mean, if you're a, yeah, you don't even have pelvis, but like the head, I wouldn't shoot the pelvis on a hostage rescue guy or a hostage rescue target. I'm sorry, but that's absolutely low percentage. Like you have very little room for error right there. So very cool,
Absolutely.
man. Very cool. Like I
Thank you,
like
Fred. Dude, I normally have to explain this to everybody, but obviously you've got way more training than I do. You're tracking on this.
No, man, I love it. Like very cool, very original and thoughtful, man. I look forward to,
Thank you.
I'm gonna get me some more.
Dude, I'll have to send you some more. Just give me an address. Tell me what you want, where you want them.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate
The angles, what you know, in my, we'll say, limited experience, at least in comparison with you, I've noticed the threat is rarely just squared off, standing there waiting for you to shoot them. And we're
Exactly.
often working in team elements, you know what I mean? So the threat per se might actually be getting ready to take a shot at somebody else on the team, but I've got, you know, the first opportunity to press trigger and it's at an angle.
Yeah. No,
The
that's
situations
brilliant.
are
Like
fluid
that's
and dynamic, right?
Yep. I'm just surprised you're the, like, I've never seen anything like that. I mean, you see bladed, slightly bladed, you know, when guys are kind of like this, but they're still pointed in your direction, right? Like that's so cool, man. Like the side view
Thanks,
and
man.
or the, like the partner there. I saw, like, for law enforcement, there was like a police partner there, you know,
Yes.
getting
Yeah.
ready to
Yeah.
help people, and then you had that side, your point of view is like that from the back side, I guess, the rear quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Just a bit of a scenario target. Yeah. Like in that scenario, the gangbanger guy is getting ready to
Yep.
take out the law enforcement officer with, you know, like MS-13, those Latin gangs.
Yep.
They don't carry ice picks. They carry like meat cleavers and machetes,
Yeah.
like big knives. And so that's what I've got that guy pictured with, is like a meat cleaver, and the distracted police officers getting ready to become his next victim. When, let's say, you're notionally the next officer on scene and you see this playing out, you're taking a shot on a guy who isn't even facing you, but where are you going to shoot him?
Right.
You know, so like you were pointing out, just getting folks accustomed to seeing those angles. What I teach is that you're shooting for the cerebellum of the brain or the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Two places to shoot a person, period. I don't waste my time with pelvic girdle shots or anything. I feel like the pelvic girdle region is the same size as the head, and I'll just shoot for the head. It's one of those two spots.
Yep. So when we teach guys the art of killing, like to actually kill a person when you're shooting somebody, we have this kind of reference or not a metaphor, but just an analogy. So timers and switches, right? So if you're engaging a threat, what's the fastest way to get rid of that threat or make him go down? And you already mentioned the cerebellum. So if you're taking a headshot, there's that imaginary kind of a thick sweatband centered on the ears that goes around the entire skull. And if you can put rounds into that and you hit that midbrain and that cerebellum, they will drop it. We call that a switch, right? Switches. Sometimes very high spinal shots, if it's from the back, if you don't have a headshot, because you don't always have a headshot,
Okay.
is a switch.
Yeah.
It can hit as high in the spine as you can. You can drop somebody literally. And then those are switches, right? The CNS, the central nervous system. And then the timers are the large vessels, right? The large blood vessels. So like the aorta, the heart, like you talked about, descending aorta, you know, subclavicular arteries, you know, you got all these different large arteries in the body that people will bleed faster and die quicker than if you shot them, like, say, in an axillary artery in the arm or something like that. So yeah, very cool, man. I love the targets. Like,
Thank you, man. Very
yeah,
much appreciate it. Thank you.
very, very original. The
I put
realism.
a lot
And
of
then,
work into those things.
and then I noticed the skin neutral, right? The gray to be politically correct, I guess. or
Yeah, that was my attempt at being politically correct. I did it on most of the targets.
No, I like it. It's pretty cool, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. So Fern, we got to do something about your shirt, man. I'm gonna get your address and send you a Silencio Coffee shirt.
Dude,
We gotta cut that thing off you. I got some medical shears here, man.
I've got a spotter up shirt, but I couldn't find it before
you
the
couldn't find it?
podcast.
Oh,
It actually fits great too, but I don't know where I put that shirt.
what do you like? Like mediums or larges, man? So
I'm like right in between right now,
Right between.
medium. And
Okay.
I've been dropping some weight, kind of getting shredded.
Seals
Yeah.
like medium. It's medium.
yeah, that's
I know,
that's true.
right?
That's true.
Like it to fit tight. The
Yeah, man.
mediums.
Well, I'll get your deets after we get offline and
Send me a large, brother.
all right,
I
I'll do
appreciate
man.
that. Thank
Cool.
you.
Cool. So
Cool, cool.
let's talk about we'll finish up the show here, but let's talk about your career, post career, man. I mean, you have any regrets? You know, thinking back the 20 plus years you've done, did you get the fulfillment that you wanted? You know, where you're at right now, and looking at this country too, where we're going with Trump. Because I
I've
know
got a
for a
lot
minute-
of mixed feelings on it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any regrets about all
Mhm.
the guys that I met over there contracting or while I was in the SEAL teams. Like so many of these guys I stay in touch with, they're among the best friends that I've ever met from all communities, like Ranger SF. That was the great thing about contracting. So I really got exposed to other guys in the other, special operations communities.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's like friendly animosity amongst all of us. It was all good though. Never any issues that I was aware of. So that was good. But the way I really view it now is like that 0.01%, the elites of the elites who actually run the world. If folks watching this are on board with that notion, that's where I'm at. I think that power structure is currently changing because we have awareness of it, and it's time for some change. But in my estimation, they've just kept wars boiling for years and years and
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Like
Fred
the
and I were talking about
Crusades,
that. Yeah. Yeah, we did that in one of the episodes. We were just basically talking about the state of the world, man, post GWOT, and are we armed, right? Our enemies,
Yeah.
seriously affected our national security. With the Sunnis and the Shiites working together now, in some places we constituted ISIS-K. I mean, all this crazy stuff, man. And then we
Yeah.
psyoped our own military. We psyoped our own civilians, man. We psyoped our own nation. It's crazy. We were spoon-fed a bunch of nonsense. I'm not going to go down the deep end, but yeah, I'm tracking what you're saying. Fred and I had talked about that, and thank God we're now dealing with the cartels and shutting the borders down too. And we're saying no, hell no, this ain't going to happen.
My thoughts on that, man, like fighting these cartels,
Mhm.
I think it's going to be harder than fighting like ISIS and Al Qaeda and all our previous, enemies.
It could be.
It's a different kind of fight. It's here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, it is definitely a different kind of fight. And I mean, to be honest, my biggest worry is it seems like the cartels, when they come under pressure from the Mexican government, they take it out on the civilians in Mexico.
Yeah.
exactly.
And
cartels-
these aren't dirt farmers, man. I mean, you look at some of the cartels are linked with a lot of the governors in the provinces in Mexico.
Yep.
It's not just dirt farmers and uneducated people. These guys are embedded in all facets of society. In the
Let's
political- Yeah.
Let's not forget about the cartel members that are already in the U.S.
Yeah.
Kind of sleeper cells, if you will, for lack of a better
Yeah.
term. That they're the ability to collect data on people now is greatly much easier than it used to be. It's not hard to trying to track down, especially with social media and special ops guys on social media posting stuff and like tracking them down and then finding out where their families live, man. Like that's a real thing. That's something
It's a real thing.
many people have considered when they talk about going to Mexico and going after the cartels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100% on that. This is different. This is quite different. it could get quite ugly. Pray it doesn't.
So what are your coping mechanisms now, man? What do you have in play? Hobbies, things you're doing? Are you doing any training in Oklahoma? I know you had Red Frog
Yeah.
at one time. So you are? What are
Yeah,
you
I'm
doing?
doing some training just under my own name, I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah.
Fern or High Value Target. There's a local range here in just outside Oklahoma City in a city called Yukon called Range 66 that I've been running out of. Took a little break this summer, but I'm going to heat it back up here coming into fall.
Mhm.
Start running courses and stuff. We've got about 5,000 square feet of office space on the second floor of this place for doing just movement, no live fire, but we can
Mhm.
run airsoft or simunition guns up there to get some movement and stuff in. And then there's 4 different shooting bays that are 25 yards deep. 25 yards deep, probably 10 yards wide. It's enough for smaller courses. And then at the Oklahoma City Gun Club, I've got distance. I can run bigger groups or bigger distances during training out there at the Oklahoma City Gun Club.
Very
So
cool,
there's
man.
those 2 spots, yeah. And then coping mechanisms, man, meditation,
Mhm.
like that journey, so to speak, that path has just been transformational. There's a guy named Joe Dispenza who really introduced me to this notion of choosing our own thoughts. You
Yeah.
choose. You choose to be happy. You choose to be sad. You choose to be depressed. You choose to have PTSD, essentially, at the end of the day. Um, you know, and on PTSD, I know there's guys that have been through way more intense situations than I have that have bigger issues to
Yeah.
contend with than I did.
Well, I think we
Um,
have created an industry around it, so these docs can make money off of that, and these people can be victims. And I'm not talking about people who are actually suffering. I'm talking about an industry of the military who are gaining something
yeah,
monetarily to be a victim, right? Of
yeah.
that, and
There's that.
yeah. And I'm a big believer in sacred spaces. Fred knows I talk about it. And I don't mean like holy sites, like you go into a church or something, but I mean outdoors. I do a lot of hiking. 1 to
Mm,
2 days a week I'm out hiking or exercise, PT, something. So I'm a big believer in sacred spaces, which is just your time, me time, you time, where you're just
me
chilling out,
too.
getting away from the noise of society because people are annoying. You go to the grocery store, Walmart, movie theaters, put down your cell phone, you know?
Yeah.
You have to get along with other people. So, what do you do for a sacred space, man? Is there a place that you
And I
go
just
home
bought a
or?
motorcycle in
Oh yeah,
July, and
yeah,
it's been my sacred space. Dude,
nice,
I take a ride every day. It's all of what you just said. It's my
yeah,
sacred space. It's my time. It's been rejuvenating.
mhm,
It's made me feel alive again.
yeah,
I'm loving it.
good
I
stuff.
haven't had a street bike since I was in high school. I had a dirt bike, which I loved, and I really got addicted to this riding that we were doing in Colorado, just kind of long routes, like adventure bike type riding.
Like
Yeah,
Um,
enduro.
yeah, like enduro type riding on enduro bikes. So I got this street bike that can do both, basically.
that's cool.
Adventure bike is the term, right? But now I can ride the bike to the trail. I don't have to put it on a trailer and all this other stuff to get there. Um, so
Very
yeah,
cool,
this is
man.
working out.
Fred, questions on anything, man?
Man, I think we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this podcast because
Yeah.
that was like I wanted to get into some of the alternative medicine, right? The
Well,
psychedelics.
let's do that, man. Fern, you want to come back?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
Cool. Yeah, let's get something going. So,
Cool.
Fred, if you don't have anything, man, we'll go ahead and sign off.
I just want to say, Fern, thank you so much for coming on and agreeing to do this, man. It was a joy to listen to you talk, hear some of your very cool stories, and share
Thanks,
your
Fred.
experiences. Some of the not so great stuff. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely, man. Mutual respect for both of you guys, my brothers.
Thanks, man.
Good talking with you, man.
All right, don't go anywhere. We will chit chat offline, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about Silencio Coffee, and also follow Fern. He is warrior. No, he's Frogman Monk. So
There's that.
on
And
Instagram.
high
Yep.
value target. It's
Nice.
HVT _ high value target. That's what I came up with.
Cool.
On
I'll put that.
Instagram.
I'll put that in the
Thanks.
bylines. So guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, folks.